Welcome to Office Hours at TradersPost for August 19th, 2025. I'm one of your hosts, Tom Hartman, Marketing Manager here at TradersPost, alongside Mike Christensen, co-founder and CSO. We're always working to make TradersPost better day in and day out. Each week, we take a deep dive into all things TradersPost, answering your questions, gathering your feedback, and helping you get the most out of the best automated trading platform in the multiverse. To that end, we encourage you to submit your questions in the chat, and we'll get to them by the end of the stream. First, a little bit of housekeeping. So Blueprint tomorrow, on Thursday, will be about GoCharting, the GoCharting software. We do talk a lot about TradingView and TrendSpider and also your own custom signals, but there are other charting softwares on the market, and it's nice to be able to go through one of them this week. GoCharting is interesting because it has some of the same flavors that you're used to from TradingView, but then also some other differences that make it particularly unique. So it'll be fun to walk through that. I'm thinking about I'll be setting up an automated trading strategy specifically, using just just your average EMA, maybe with an RSI, just to see how it works on that platform. I think more and more people will be. The platform caters to certain types of people, and I think it'll be fun to see. We also have coming up, it's not released just yet, but we're going to get it really soon. John tells me that our integration with Lucid Trading, Holoprime, and Day Traders is just about complete, and will be headed out to beta. That's fun. Actually, we were seeing some people on Discord ask about some of these platforms, and it's just getting exciting just to see the whole list of prop firms and crypto exchanges and brokers just getting so big, and so big that it's like, okay, now we need like a live fuzzy search. Now we're going to need like categorization, because it's just becoming massive, and there's no end in sight. Have you ever used any of those particular platforms? Are you interested in using Lucid Trading, Holla?
I hadn't heard of those. No, I think my existing tool set is really reliant on any of the prop firms that use Tradeovate. As soon as there's some specific features available on Project X that help me with my approach around bracket orders, I'll be looking at more of the Project X prop firms. But right now, I like the ones that are on Tradeovate.
Awesome. Yeah, and I've only dipped my toes into the prop firm field. So hey, Tom, take it one step at a time. You're already doing three accounts. I think I'm gonna head up to like at least 5 before the end of this month. I'm sure. It's just so fun to see the scaling, and then the more it scales, like I've seen with you on Price Action Live and with Trevor, you don't need to take as much risk. You scalp. Your thing is multiplied across multiple accounts, and it feels like you did a big thing, even though it's a small thing. As you've seen, I am not a scalper, and I do not have the chops for that. Mike, you are, as you've seen on Price Action Live.
I'm both. I like to follow the trend for the day, as long as I can stay in the trend for the day. And then I like to scalp. The scalping trades are a little bit tougher. You're just looking for reversals, but those are very hard to spot from time to time, especially if things are not as choppy as you'd like them to be. Today is one of those days where, as long as you're selling, I think you're doing well.
Well, Price Action Live happens Tuesday to Friday, every day, from 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you get to see me, and more importantly, Mike, trade live in front of you guys using the TradersPost software. It's one thing to talk about using it; it's another thing to use it live in front of you guys. So it's definitely worth checking out, if only for the joy of seeing the vicissitudes of the markets as it affects Mike. It's very funny throughout the day and throughout the week. To every once in a while, in a meeting with Mike or doing something, you hear Mike go, I should have been in that trade.
Well, I'm sure it should be no surprise to people that we are traders ourselves here at TradersPost, so we get it. We use our own tools on purpose. We want it. We get the full experience, and we make sure that we're constantly innovating so that it not only improves our trading experience, but it's going to improve yours as well.
That's right. So one of those things that one of the subjects that keeps popping up, like people talk about, hey, what prop firms do you want? What connections do you need? When should I enter? When should I exit? All that is nice and fun, but it's a topic that comes up all the time on all the price action lives that we don't talk enough about, and that is position sizing.
Yep.
Right. So position sizing is one of the risk management procedures you need to go through in order to make sure you can become profitable over time. It's very interesting. There's different ways that you can actually think about your position size and when you're doing any sort of trading, either discretionary or systematic, then make it so that you can follow the number rule of trading, which is you got to have money. If you don't have money to stay inside of the markets, it doesn't matter how brilliant your trade might be. You need to be around. You need to be exposed to the market in order to be able to profit. And it's interesting. In just today, we had an example on Price Action Live. You guys could always take a look at that video on our YouTube channel. But Mike, you had this when you switch from the trend following for your positions, where you might go up to 3 positions in when you're following a trend, you have a different procedure for your position size. And when it comes to scalping, can you give us a little bit of a tutorial on the difference between those two?
Yeah. So I take essentially when it comes to scalping, I'm trading the minis, not the micros. So it's a lot larger of a position size. On NQ, that's $20 per point. And I tend to scalp for 10 points of take. And I usually allow for 20 points of stop. So that follows a little bit of what they call negative RR, or a lower risk to reward ratio between the two. I know Tom and I have joked a little bit about this. It's not really a negative number. It's more of a less than 1 number. But the point is that I'm not making as much on the take profit side as I am on the loss side. And the thinking behind that is when it comes to expectancy, you really want the combination of both your win rate and your risk to reward ratio in order to determine if you can actually make money. I have about an 80% win rate on the scalping strategy. So overall, I can afford that upside down risk to reward ratio because my win rate is high enough to cover for it. That said, I try not to take huge positions in all the accounts. So what I want to do is make it to where each account has a slightly different amount of drawdown that's available to it. Some accounts might have $2,000 in drawdown available. Some might have $6,000 in drawdown available. Obviously, the more drawdown I have, the larger of a risk I'm willing to take, and I'll take a little bit larger of a position. I've decided that a quick rule of thumb for me is 1 contract for every $1,000 of drawdown available. So if there's less than or roughly in the range of $1,000 of drawdown, I take 1 contract. 2,000 of drawdown, it's 2 contracts. $3,000 of drawdown, then 3 contracts, and so on and so forth, up to 5 contracts. That's the maximum lot size I'm willing to put on, and I don't add to those positions. So it's just 1 trade at a time. I go for 10 points. If I win, then I've won the correct amount for that account. And by adjusting my position sizes in that way per account, it actually helps me manage the risk of those accounts a lot better, because then I'm not blowing out accounts really quickly where they only have like $800 of drawdown left. So the thinking behind this is your position size settings can actually live within TradersPost. If you guys want me to share my screen, I can show you what I mean. On my scalping strategy, if I look at all of these individual subscriptions, I know the drawdown amounts for each one of these accounts. I just go look them up in Tradeovate, and I look for the distance to drawdown number. And essentially, I'll take that number, determine how many contracts I need to trade. So like in this case, this one only has about 1,000 something in drawdown. So I'll set the fixed quantity of 1 to this scalping strategy for this account. And then if it's a larger account that has a little more room, then the position size might be larger. Let me find one real quick. I don't have them all memorized. I have to look these up one by one right now. Here's one with 2. So this has $2,000 in drawdown, and it sets a fixed quantity of 2 contracts at a time instead of 1. And that just allows me to trade, different sizes per account depending on that drawdown amount.
Awesome. So just to back up a little bit here, in case position size isn't something that you're thinking about often, just keep in mind that if you have, let's say, a 10% drawdown inside of your account, your strategy, you need 11.1% in order to get back up to break even. But if you have like a 30% drawdown, you need like a 42.9% to get back up to break even. At 60% drawdown, you need 150% to get back up to break even. And 80% drawdown, you need 400% gain in order to get back up to break even.
My favorite
So
one is a 90% drawdown. Now you need 1,000% in order to
900%,
break even.
crazy. And so it's one of those things where I've had clients in the past who've said, and we've heard this even from people within TradersPost. They go, my strategy is 90%, has a 90% win rate, 94% win rate. And so I can take a big swing because I'm almost certainly going to be right and I'll make a bunch of money. But you better hope you don't get two tails in a row on that one, because you can completely blow out your account on a 95% accurate signal. So you want to make sure that you're there for the longevity of the trade. So you need to survive the trade another day. That's the whole idea here. One of the interesting things for position sizing, though, is that there's not one size fits all. Like you just heard Mike talking about the idea between entering into position and then adding to it. And he has this idea of a max size position that he's willing to put on exactly for this idea, because he knows, hey, the day I'm wrong is the day I don't want to be sitting there with 10 contracts because I was hoping that this was going to be my trend following. But then in another one, he might actually take the large position size because he is trying to get in and get out real quickly. And the way that he'll think about that trade will be completely different, right? When I've seen you, Mike, sitting there with a scalp, you're not adjusting your stop losses as you go in order to pick up the trend. You're not even you're not even manually placing your exits. They're tied directly to the entry order. So you just need to be able to get in, and then take profit and stop loss happens automatically on the TradersPost side, right?
On the broker side, the signal
Right.
gets sent with the signal price, and then a take profit and stop loss order are executed with the broker. So Trade Evade actually gets me out of my position.
That's awesome. So it requires a completely different set of thinking for the same person, for the same asset in the same time frame. He might have different position sizes that he's putting on. But those are just two ways. He's using fixed contract size. On TradersPost, you actually get, and Peter can pull up my screen here, you actually get the ability to have multiple different calculation methods for your strategy. So fixed quantity is the one that's there by default, and most people are usually used to. Well, actually, not by default. By default, you have nothing here. You have to choose something, but that's the first option.
By default, it goes to one contract.
If there's nothing here, it'll default to one.
That's right. If you don't send a quantity
perfect.
in the JSON and you don't specify a quantity in your position settings, it will default to one.
Okay. So you have a fixed quantity that you can send here. So you have to, that's one of the four calculation methods. Then you have amount per position. So this is the, you get to always trade the same dollar value, right? So this will change the quantity of the contracts or shares being purchased depending on this amount. So if the asset moves up or down in price, it'll just make sure that you're staying within your risk parameter. For risk per position, here you get to define how much you'll lose if the stop loss hits, which is great. I actually prefer that sort of idea. I want to know how much you're going to lose if this thing if this thing goes south. I don't really sit there thinking to myself, oh, I wish I had 3 more contracts on. I just want to know at the end of the day when I'm wrong, which I will be, that that I won't be washed out.
And you know what? I think the other big thing for me when we do it this way, set up all the position size management on TradersPost, I just focus on the trade at that point. I'm not interested in the position sizing or where the open P&L is. All that stuff gets handled automatically according to my risk parameters. So that just helps me focus on the chart. And obviously, once you get to 15, 20 different accounts at the same time, that's too much to think about anyway.
That's right. Absolutely. The final option here for calculation is percent of equity, and this is where it's dynamically sizing depending on the growth of your account or the size of the value of your account. Now, this doesn't work for all asset classes on all brokers, so it'll depend for your particular strategy. Plus, it's taken into consideration the positions you have open, right? So it's not just the available cash you have in your account, but the entire equity value of your position of that portfolio. Before we move on to some of these other sub options, I do want to point out here that here, when you're choosing through these drop-down menus, the options, and you're filling out these details, this is happening at the subscription level. But you can also send your quantity values and your parameters inside of the signal you send from TradingView from your signal source. And you have to make sure that you've set here whether or not you want to use the signal quantity or not. If you use the signal quantity by toggling on the switch, whatever is coming in from that signal will override any of the settings you have here in the subscription. So you can decide, hey, even though my subscription here on TradersPost has these values, I'm going to go ahead and override that position size, and allows you to have more control of it on the other end. If for some reason you don't want that to happen and you want to turn that off, you're like, hey, I don't want to accidentally send position sizes through my signal or anything like that. I just want to turn that off, and that way I'm just going to use the position size of my subscription. I don't have to worry about the parameters. Then you could go ahead and do that. So if this is turned off, whether or not you send the quantity, the position sizes parameters within your signal, it will be ignored. All right, so you get into, so you're sending the signal in order to get in. Then you have a number of different parameters here that can then change a little bit how that, what final quantity we send off to your broker. Because remember, here at the subscription level of TradersPost, we are doing multiple different calculations to ultimately submit that signal off to your broker. So there's three other settings that that come into play here when it comes that we're going to touch on. The first one is the size isolated. So size isolated, if you have that turned on, it'll only take the trade in the direction you have submitted here for sides, either bullish or bearish. So if you're bullish, it doesn't matter if you send a signal and size isolated is turned on. It doesn't matter if you send a signal to sell. We won't sell, right? You won't go short for this position. It'll actually, correct me if I'm wrong here. If you send a sell and you're long,
there's an open long, it has more to do about the open position.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your position is already opened and you're bullish, it won't take a bearish trade, and then vice versa.
That's right.
You also have this option down here for subtract exit quantity from signal quantity, where depending on how your signal source is actually created, you might have scenarios where, let's say you're long 5 contracts, and you might send in a signal to sell 10. Well, normally, if you have this option turned off, it will, and you send the 10 to sell, it'll flatten your position, so you'll no longer be long, and then you'll enter 10 shares, 10 contracts short. But you might not want that. You might want to just be short the difference. You might just want to be short the 5. And so what you can do is to have, if you're long 5 contracts and you have to subtract exit quantity from signal quantity turned on, and you send a signal to sell 10, then you'll only be short the net balance, which is 5. And then finally, there is the use fractional quantity, which is useful for, obviously, for crypto and for certain brokers that allow for fractional quantities, where you can have fractional quantities for your position. If you don't have that.
For crypto, I believe fractional quantity is automatically enabled, even if you disable it. I'd have to double check. I thought we had forced it on because obviously almost every crypto trade should be fractional anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the option below that, which I sometimes forget to turn on, and I should not, which is allow add to position, which allows me to send, and if I'm long 1 contract and I send another signal to be long again to buy more, I want to make sure to add to my position. And in order for that to increase to 2, well, I got to make sure that allow add to position is turned on. Otherwise, it'll ignore those subsequent signals. And I've been in those situations where I'm long a contract and I'm just so bullish and I'm going to keep adding to the position, and notifications are firing on TradingView, and I've totally forgot to add the allow to position on, and I'm just still long 1 contract at my broker, which I only seem to do by accident when it would benefit me, and not otherwise.
And on purpose when it doesn't.
Exactly. So the final option here, which is the signal quantity multiplier, is something that was added recently to TradersPost and really lends itself to this idea that we're really trying to be the best advanced trade execution engine available. This is just one of those quality of life things that you can add that we've added to the interface to give you even more flexibility when managing your position sizes. So when you're using the signal quantity multiplier, which is any number, it could be a fraction, it could be less than one, it could be more than one. What it's doing is that it's going to take the signal, whatever quantity that would normally be sent to your broker in order to execute, and it'll apply a multiplier to that number. All right, so why might you want to use this? So let's say you're trading prop firm accounts and you have, let's say, 5 prop firm accounts connected to your TraderSpost strategy. So it's running. So for example, here, I'll show you what I have here. I have a strategy here that has 3 prop firm accounts tied to it. And right now, all 3 of those prop firm accounts are the same 50K accounts at Top Step. But let's say I had one that was 100,000, and I wanted to make sure that I wanted to scale my position size so that it would work accordingly with that platform, with that larger size. Well, I could edit the subscription for this, and under my multiplier for position size, I could switch this to 2. And that way, whatever quantity would normally be executed will then be multiplied by 2, and so one contract will be 2 at this account. It allows me to be able to have flexibility for how to modify the quantity there without having to go and adjust the fixed quantity or adjust my amount per position or again and again and again. I don't have to worry about all that granularity. I could just have the quantity multiplier, which gets applied as a final step before the signal gets sent. Are you, Mike? I think you requested this feature. Is this something you're using?
Yeah, well, I was at first, and then I realized that I needed to manually manage the position sizes to follow this drawdown based position size strategy. So
Right.
now I'm inclined to make another ticket that would allow us to do drawdown based position sizing because it's just been so useful to build my position size off of that drawdown amount. The problem is that it's difficult to get drawdown availability from any other vendors except for Tradeovate. So it's something we need to explore as an option elsewhere. And then once that number is made available, then it'll be much easier for us to support that kind of feature. So it's something I'm continuing to investigate. But for me personally, I think it's the best way to manage position size. So the signal multiplier doesn't really work since it's not really tied to the drawdown size. And so I had to sort of shift my approach. Now I could just set the multiplier from 1, but it's the same thing as setting the fixed size. So I just figured, why not just set the fixed size? And that works for me. I was using it for a little while though. It's a nice feature.
That's fun. It's guys, if you're a prop firm trader using TradersPost, you might never need to send a support ticket in again because Mike is the #1 fan for modifying the platform in order to get you guys the features that you need. It's funny, you're there, you have all the granularity inside your mind. You go, hey, this one little extra thing would make my life a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Wait till we get analytics. I'll have daily requests for all kinds of new features.
John's gonna love that. Well, even if you're not doing prop firm trading and you want to just go ahead and you want to manage, for myself, I'll buy crypto regularly, and depending on the funds that I have in a particular account, I might want to use the signal quantity multiplier because it'll make sense for one account that has more balance versus another one. I like the idea of keeping things proportional, and I can do that here. You can also downsize the risk, right? So I mentioned this at the beginning, but you can have a number that's less than 1. So if you set, let's say, 0.5, it'll go ahead and reduce that position. However, it will round it off to the floor price, right? The floor quantity. It won't send a fractional quantity unless use fractional is activated.
Right.
And it's supported at the connection. All right. So if you guys want more information on the position size, you can go ahead, the features within TradersPost, you can go ahead to our documentation and head over to the position size page, and you'll get a lot more details about that. Like I said, you can send your JSON properties over within your message over to TradersPost in order to control some of the stuff from the actual signal source. So that'll be up to you if you prefer to do that. If you guys have any questions about using the sizing feature or anything like that, of course, please reach out to us at our support. We're always there to help you. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's always great to set your account either to auto submit off so that you can test what a signal might look like, or connect to your TradersPost paper account just to get a sense of what the values will be at the end, especially if you're trying to do more complex setups. But suffice to say, you can also reach out to us if you need more information. I wanted to just touch on the idea here of, I'm not an expert in this at all, but this idea of Kelly Criterion.
Oh, sure.
Um, are you able to tell me a little bit more about that? This idea that is this formula that some people use in order to get um, an ideal position sizing based on what exactly?
It's basically based on a sequence of bets that have been taken in the past. So and this is why I think Kelly Criterion is often used in quantitative environments, and it does take that rolling win rate into account. So something we're working on internally will incorporate something similar where you can base your position size based on uh, the the historical win rate, which is helpful. But what Kelly Criterion also attempts to do is incorporate the volatility, so the amount of movement within each trade. And I think that that's pretty helpful as well, because if it starts to see that volatility is going up based on the 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 historical volatility, then it should size you down pretty quickly. So this article here, I think from this website, shows that the basic percentage is the winning probability of a trade minus 1 minus the win rate divided by the win-loss ratio. So it's attempting to incorporate some version of your mathematical expectancy into the position size. So if you look at the sequence here, if you're understanding this from just a daily perspective, if on day one you had a win, day two is a win, day three is a win, then you had a fairly large loss on the fourth day. What we're interested in is how big of a position would it take for each one of those, right? So
Right.
let's go up to the first trade here. So he runs through the example of greater than one. Let's plug it back in. I'm just trying to read through this real quick. I didn't have an
Sure.
example fairly well prepared here, but we can put this article into the show notes as well. Essentially, this one shows the win rate being at about 60%, plus the risk reward ratio is incorporated. And when you divide those numbers over each other, you basically get 31%. So basically, the next trade that you take should only size at 31% of your normal lot size. And by doing that, you're effectively incorporating a risk adjusted approach where you're accounting for your recent risk in that position size. And then as you start to improve your performance over time, as trades start to come in and start to improve, that's obviously going to ratchet up the position size as well. There's a bunch of data around this. People have done an enormous amount of study on Kelly Criterion and how it can be leveraged into a portfolio. And it really does reduce the volatility overall of your trading activity. So if used properly, I think it can really help with the drawdown side of things. Tom, to your point earlier, if you're position sizing down with each loss, you have less of a chance of risk of ruin. Each time you do that, you're reducing your odds of losing your entire capital. In our case, when it comes to prop firm trading, it's not much. We don't have much room in a prop firm account. They only give you a few $1,000s of drawdown to work with, which is the same thing as like opening a futures account with $3,000 in it. You can lose that account very, very quickly with that small amount.
That's right. Just a reminder for people, we did do a Kelly Criterion blueprint last year. You guys can go to the YouTube channel and look up the add in Kelly Criterion position sizing to an automated trading strategy, which is fun. This is my first exposure to Kelly Criterion. And it just goes through, hey, how you might implement something like this within TradingView. The code is available free. you just need to go click on the link and grab it yourself and experiment. Although now, in the day and age of AI, people like Tom writing these things up, not necessary. Get yourself a Cloud Code subscription. This is not a paid ad, and you can go ahead and have that incorporated into any sort of automated system that you have. There are also calculators galore out there. You type Kelly Criterion calculator, there's a billion. Can't even SEO for it because you'll never get to the first page. That's how many there are in order to help you out. All right. I'd love to hit some of the questions that we had this week. Our first question came from, who was this? Yes, Axman007, who asks, 007. Yeah, 007. Wait, I don't understand. What's 007? Is that a thing?
A head nod to James Bond, 007.
Oh, I don't really pay attention to
Oh my
government
God. How
intelligence
are we
agencies or
friends,
anything
Tom?
like
Are you not into James Bond?
that. Hey, y'all, maybe a new question, but I have a trading bot built in Python that trades an account with TradeAvate and is connected to TradingView. What do I do to import it or otherwise make it work with your company? So this is one of those general questions where sometimes people, they come by, they get a general idea of what TradersPost is, and they think, okay, I'll import my strategies into the software, which isn't exactly how it works. What our software is that we are receiving signals that you send to us, and then those signals are then translated into a trade idea, which is then executed at the broker. So the bridge is always through our webhooks. You set up a strategy. It's always that you're setting a signal to our webhooks, and then we're passing that off. Now, where your flavor comes into play is how much of those settings do you want to handle on the JSON message side? Do you want to go ahead and really make that complex, get it, well, it's not even complex, but get it fully done on the JSON message side, or do you want a lot of that handled by the subscription defaults? That's essentially what you're deciding. But at the end of the day, we are taking your signal and translating it at the connection at the other end.
Maybe one potential reason that you might want to go from TradingView to your own Python environment and then to TradersPost is assuming that the trade signal itself is coming from TradingView. You've written some kind of Pine script. You have an indicator that you've written there, and that's where it works best, and you feel more comfortable with that. Then you send a webhook call to your own private Python environment, and then there's some additional computation that's taking place. Maybe something around position sizing, maybe an additional set of rules or criteria or a filter or some kind. And once it passes through that filter and set of rules, then you construct a JSON message to send off to TradersPost to actually execute the trade with your preferred broker. Why is this useful? In many cases, developers don't want to spend the time setting up the broker integration with the number of brokers that we're already integrated with or number of prop firms that we're already integrated with. So sending that signal off and relaying that signal to TradersPost just makes that development cycle a little bit easier for them. Then they just manage the position settings with us, they manage the execution settings, and all they have to do is send off a webhook call, webhook request to TradersPost from their own custom environment.
Yeah, more and more now. About every 3 months, I go and I try to see, hey, if I want to use AI or my own custom thing in order to connect to a broker, is it easier now? Is it simpler now? How quickly can I get this set up? And I do this in order to be able to come to Mike and John and go, see, I was able to create this very easily and simply, and I don't need TradersPost anymore. And then I realized that is definitely not the case. It is way harder, way more cumbersome, and all kinds of different problems you could run into. And plus, I can never keep up with the pace of features that TradersPost keeps adding. And so what I really want to see is more and more people over the next few months, few years, really you can build your own signal source and however way you want. You don't necessarily have to be tied to a given platform, and just know that, hey, I know I could send the signal off, connect to TradersPost through my webhook, through my JSON message, and reliably get that execution at the other end. And I think you can have this explosion of different sorts of ideas, all kinds of different tools that people might make around our platform. I really want to see that, Mike. I want to see 100 new platforms a month, the tools that people are building for themselves in order to have great, interesting automated trades. And I'll just try not to think of the fact that, they'll make more money than me. trading, and they'll be more successful. I'll just be happy that they're inside of the ecosystem. Our next question here from GF, who asks, if I have 2 buys with my TradingView strategy, where the first buy is for 10% of my trading account equity, and the second buy, when triggered in TradingView, is for 5% of my trading account equity, how do I configure the messages from TradingView for this? And how do I configure a strategy where a buy could be 10% or 5%? So this is for add to position. If you want to do an add to position, is it possible to have a different position size when you're adding to position than when you're initially entering the trade?
Certainly, yeah. And the equity amount is effectively based on a formula that we use to determine the change in that equity. So the percentage size is pretty much based on the original equity amount you had before you opened the trade. Let me show you what I mean. If you head to our documentation, here's the formula for percent of equity, allowing you to dynamically calculate the position size. So what it does is it doesn't use your total buying power margin. It's only the total portfolio value minus any unrealized profits or losses. So by subtracting that, that helps us understand how much actual purchasing power you have available to you. So to run through the first form of the formula here, let's say I got into my first 10% of the position, and overall I'm already down 1% in the portfolio. It's now going to use 99% of the portfolio to then calculate the 5% of the remainder. So you can definitely add to the position, and we're going to look at the adjusted portfolio size for the second trade. Now you're in roughly 15% or roughly 14% of the portfolio from its original equity point. And then you can carry through the rest of the signal from there. And then when you send an exit signal, it exits the entire position.
And they would have to switch from the 10% to the 5% within the JSON message, though.
Within the JSON message within TradingView, correct. We don't have a way to dynamically change the percent of equity unless you sent it through a different strategy. So you could say for the first buy, I'm going to send it through this webhook URL that's set to 10%. Then I have a separate strategy in TradersPost that's set to 5%. So I send that second alert to a different webhook URL. So depending on your needs, if you can't code it into the strategy itself and you can't set the 5%, but you can determine the first buy and the second buy, and you can set an alert on the first buy and alert on the second buy, then you could send it to 2 separate strategies with different position sizing incorporated.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Perfect. All right, and our final question comes from Mashubi, who asks, does TradingPost work as a prop firm copy trader? Say I make an order on a DOM for a leader parent account with the will the follower child accounts take those same entries and exits, or is it only ATS? So I just wanted to bring this up here because you had mentioned there's a very different mechanism when you're dealing with a leader and follower accounts versus how we do it here at TradersPost.
Correct. And first off, tisk, Mashubi, you haven't been following us on Price Action Live to know that we absolutely do support copy trading. Give us a follow on YouTube. We've got a ton of content on this and a lot more content coming on exactly how all this can be done. But yes, we are not a leader follower platform. We don't listen to the trades of one account in order to execute them on the remaining accounts. Essentially, you send one signal to TradersPost with the instructions of your trade, and it trades all the connected accounts or subscribed accounts, as we call them, in parallel or concurrently, which is the phrase we use. So it is more of a parallel account execution platform.
Yeah, there is a benefit to that because I actually saw on Twitter just this weekend where if there's a problem with the leader account for some reason, or a problem with how that copies over to the child accounts, you can have failures up and down the stack on that one, where the trades fail or all kinds of craziness happens. Whereas because we're treating each one of the signals, the signals are being sent to each one of the accounts, one signal to one broker doesn't affect the other, or one prop firm doesn't affect the other, right? So you don't end up in the situation where
that's right. It's like Christmas lights. You can have one light bulb go bad, but the other ones are still bright and shiny.
That's right. Excellent. Well, that's it for our questions of this week. You guys can always feel free to send in your questions, feedback, testimonials. If you include hearts, rockets, and exclamation points, we're far more likely to take it seriously. Just kidding. We want to make TradersPost the best automatic trade execution platform in the universe, advanced trade execution platform in the universe. I got to find the right way of saying that, because in my head I see it as ATE.
It's still, yeah. We ate. We know we ate using this platform.
And it just keeps growing, right? Our feature set just keeps going bigger and bigger. I can't wait till analytics comes and drops. That'll be a whole new game changer. Oh my god, it'll be fantastic. You guys haven't seen it. We've seen what it looks like, and it's going to be fun. We'll be back on next Tuesday, of course, at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for more office hours. But come see us every day, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for Price Action Live in the mornings. It's so fun to trade live in front of people and lose money or make money. Hey, that's just what it is. You get to see how we can actually use the platform.
Yeah, and maybe it's one thing you guys will appreciate. We don't we're very transparent about the process here. So we're happy to lose on camera. We're not hiding wins and losses. And that's primarily because we're not trying to build a following being a guru trader here. We're showing you guys how to do this on TradersPost. I am putting my own prop firm accounts at risk in the process, but I don't, I'm not looking to have you guys follow or buy a course or anything like that. So follow along if you're interested in my way of trading or taking what I've done and adapt it into your own approach. More than anything, that's what I want to see happen is people take what we do on Price Action Live and turn it into an approach that makes tremendously more than I'm making. So that would make me very happy.
See, ironically, that's exactly what I want to hear from someone that I want to follow as a guru. So you've gotten to follow. That's exactly right. Perfect. Don't follow me. Don't follow me. Please let me follow you.
I hope I earned a follow from you.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure if you're following me at the moment, but if you aren't, you should now.
Well, this morning I said I wasn't going to take any trades. And then your fire just got me, hey, I'm going to go short now too. And I made some money on that. So I'm pretty happy about it.
There you go.
All right, guys, that's it from us. And we'll see you next time.
Cheers, everyone.